Hey, welcome back to Driver 88. I'm very excited today because we are driving for the very first time a Cupra. This brand is literally months old here in Australia. We're in a brand new dealership, which we'll show you right now, which looks extremely svelte and very performance orientated. Cupra, well, it's a brand that's under that enormous VW umbrella, but it differentiates itself, as I said, due to the styling and the performance. There's 4 models that are going to be available here in Australia. And this one, which is the top of the range Leon VZX, is what we're going to be driving today. So please enjoy. So let's have a quick talk about the exterior of the new Cupra Leon. Well, it sits on the very familiar MQB Evo platform, shared with Volkswagen and Skoda and Audi. And you can definitely see a number of those designs in the lights and the front that look very Audi-esque. However, the differentiators come with all the different sorts of matte and dark paints that Cupra have in their dealership, as well as the badging and of course these very, very unique bronze style wheels, which are an option. This car also has on the side here 370mm Brembo brakes as an option. 340mm are the standard on this car. You've pretty much just got one other option, and that is the sunroof, which is also option on this car. So let's talk about the performance. So the performance of the Cupra also quite familiar. I've driven so many different variations of the EA888 sitting under this hood. 2-litre turbo, 220 kilowatts and 400 Newton meters. It's a lot of power for the front wheels, which comes with a suitable diff to match. 0 to 100, 5.7 seconds. Now that is slightly higher than the i30N Premium, which I've driven not that long ago, and I'll definitely be comparing to the performance of this car. 7-speed DSG, it's all very familiar, but I have not driven it in this state of tune in a Cupra. So furthermore, on the looks, I personally feel the front is a little bit lacking in style. I like these front LEDs, there's LEDs on the front and the rear. One thing that I think does kind of differentiate, even though it's just a badge, I do like this style badge. Maybe it's trying a little bit hard, I'm not sure, but the bronze with the carbon on the backing, I think it looks quite cool. There's a number of other design features here that are certainly sort of Golf-esque. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether you think a Mark 8 Golf looks better or not. I really like this car in a satin blue paint, which was in the dealership. That looks absolutely hot, especially with the sort of titanium look quad exhaust tips at the back. So we're sitting in the back of the new Cupra Leon. The first thing that really comes to my mind that I'm really enjoying is this petrol blue leather, which is everywhere in this car. Let's start with these seats. They have better side bolstering and feel better than my old RS3 that I had. The petrol blue leather goes all the way to the back seats as well, the door cards, all the important touch points, including the steering wheel, which is also a standout. It also is in that petrol blue, feels really nice to the touch. And on top of that, I love the fact that it has proper hard touch buttons so you can remember them without having to look at them. Unlike that other car in this range, this sort of hexagonal design on the steering wheel is very reminiscent of the Lamborghini Urus. We've got a Beats audio sound system, which, look, Beats, for those audiophiles out there, don't have the best name, but I think it sounds adequate for this sort of sports hot hatch. It's really quite nice to sit in here. I've got decent headroom. I'm 5'11", sitting in the rear. I've actually got decent knee room, which I did not expect with this MQB platform. You've got Type-C ports in the front and the back. You've got air conditioning in the back. You've also got wireless charging. And I think most importantly, as long as I've got an easy place to change the modes on the steering wheel, and I've got wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, I'm as happy as Larry. So the 10.25-inch screen in the middle, it's pretty much easy to use. I'm not a big fan of the aircon controls, but apart from that, it's just really, really nice, and everything feels very sporty, particularly with the changeable ambient lighting as well. So that is the interior. It's really, really sporty and a quality place to be. so we've had a little bit of time driving the Leon VZX. I can say that it feels very, very composed on the road. What do you think about the sound? It's a little bit too reserved for my liking. When you put it into Cupra mode and you play around with the gears, you do get a bit of a pop and a rasp, which sounds okay. It does unfortunately put a bit of sort of false noise into the cabin, which I'm not a big fan of. Now, some people have complained about the DSG sort of awkwardness off the line. I haven't found any of that in this car. It's probably the smoothest version of the DSG that I've ever driven. I guess that's just years and years of reprogramming and improvements on that gearbox. Now, this car doesn't absolutely feel rapid. Your pedals here, super fast with its response. 400 Newton meters from quite a light hot hatch is more than ample. 5.7 is not super fast to 100 these days, but I can tell you when it's rolling, it feels every bit as fast as the new Golf R. Every bit as fast. Really, really impressive how strong the mid-range is. 235s in the front, 235s in the rear. These are Bridgestone Potenzas. I can't say I've had much experience with them, but this car's going to hang on probably a lot longer and a lot harder than the average driver is going to be able to. I'm going to go on the freeway now just to feel how that mid-range goes and how quickly we can drop down and overtake. But so far, very, very impressive. I haven't got to the point where I've been feeling any nudging or understeering. You're going to have to be really pushing this car to be getting understeer. The next thing is, should I even really discuss steering feel? I mean, with modern cars these days, they're just really, really highly assisted. I can't say that you get a lot of steering feel up front, but these days a hot hatch has to do everything. So potholes, traffic, everything else, like I'm sitting in now, I don't really need Porsche 3RS steering feel for the car that's going to do everything, as well as maybe the occasional track day. I like that we've got easy mode selection buttons on your steering wheel. We go from sport to Cupra mode now. The brakes also, in typical VAG fashion, they're relatively sensitive, but you get used to them instantly. There's a nice urgency in Cupra mode. Gearbox drops down straight away. The car feels lighter in the front end than the Golf R, I feel, and it's nice to be in a car that just wants to get going. So even in sport mode, the Leon has a lot of pep. It feels pretty much like a tuned Golf GTI of the previous generation. I would really love to try this thing on a track, and I would also love to try the slightly larger version of this with all-wheel drive, the Formentor. Although being a Spanish brand, I'm going to try this, the Formentor. Now, the driveway price of the Cupra Leon, 65,500 Australian dollars. It's a fair amount of money, but this car is absolutely stacked full of features with the most powerful engine. 7,000 or thereabouts more expensive than the i30N Premium, but this car feels much more premium than the i30N. The price is also comparable to the brand new Golf GTI, which I've seen listed for 70, but you can probably get for about 65,500 as well. However, this car has a more powerful engine and potentially more options, larger brakes, etc. So I'll leave that up to you whether you think that is a good deal or not. I would definitely recommend to give one of these a drive. I think this car feels far more premium than I ever had thought. It's very responsive. The DSG is probably the most least jerky that I've ever driven on any other model. I would definitely recommend checking out the Cupra if you're after a hot hatch, one that's premium and definitely has the performance to match. So thank you very much for watching. This is Driver 88. Please subscribe if you can, and we'll see you next time.